I'm Dr. Barry, licensed psychologist, and here we talk about true crime and psychology. Thank you so much for joining. Let's hop right into today's topic. Let's go.
Welcome. I am excited to talk with you all about the Brian Walshe trial. This is my third video covering this case, so please make sure to check out the live feed. You'll be able to see any prior coverage. For the general overview, you can also check out the description. My brain is still waking up this morning. I have not had any caffeine. I just realized after pressing go, I realized I have not had any caffeine. And at some point I'm going to have to plug in my computer. And so we are waiting for the jury, and I am not surprised that they deliberated. It's my understanding they deliberated for maybe 3 hours on Friday, and then they went home at 4:30, and that they will be back to deliberate on Monday. Massachusetts, it's my understanding they have a rule where the jury, they have to look at the evidence. So they can't just get in there, do a poll of where everyone is. Like, they are supposed to take a look at things. And the jury did have, I believe, 2 questions, and other coverage. So other creators have covered that. I updated myself this morning. I watched Emily D. Baker's coverage of closing, and she did a phenomenal job explaining the law. I also watched, there's another lawyer that I like. He gives quick updates. If you watch his channel, he does like a green screen with, I'm getting his name, JD, A Lawyer Explains. I watched his update. I also like getting updates from Lawyer Lee and a few other lawyers as well. So I wanted to talk about Anna's best friend, because I thought Anna's best friend, her testimony brought in things that hadn't really come up before. So the fact that Anna and Brian hadn't been intimate in about a year or so. The fact that Anna mentioned kind of falling out of love with him, and the fact that Anna believed that he was intentionally dragging out his federal case, that he was doing it intentionally, and that she might have made the decision to just bring the kids to DC because it was a lot on her having to travel back and forth. And the reason why she's having to travel back and forth is because of his criminal case. And he's not even really bringing anything to the table. And what I mean by anything to the table, she's the primary breadwinner. She's the one doing all of these things. And we'll get to the state's closing a little bit later, but I'll mention here, the state mentioned that he's over here watching her transactions on her credit card, but she's paying the bill. It's like, why is he over here looking at her credit card statements and she's paying her bills? Please hold while I love that Paul says please hold. Let me plug in my computer real quick. If I don't plug this in, we're gonna have a problem. Technology. I meant to do all of this before I went live, and I did not. I'm not connected to the Wi-Fi, so we were using. So I had my computer hardwired. So let me know if the stream gets a little glitchy, because I can plug that back in. What I mean by hardwired is I had the Ethernet port connected, and I only have so many ports here. So I thought Anna's friend's testimony was very powerful. And then I thought her former boss at the very end of his cross-examination, because I feel like, so the state is the one that called the best friend, her former coworker. So Mr. Jim, CEM, but sometimes he spells it GEM. He was so adorable. He, I put in the comments on Emily D. Baker's chat that I thought he would make a good work husband, like, because the defense was trying to make a big deal that Anna might have had a crush on him, and he had on this like black blazer with this like dark gray turtleneck. Like he was with his little, I don't know, like he looked nice to me. And the fact that she might have, you know, I don't know, and he seemed emotionally intelligent. He seemed like he'd just be somebody cool to talk to. I mentioned he'd seem like somebody cool to grab a cup of coffee or something with. That's what I thought. Because Brian seems he's coming off a bit obnoxious to me. I don't know. Like he just seems like he's so very full of himself. I'm sure he could get exhausting very easily. And so thank you so much for this. I think that he did this, but I don't think the prosecution proved premeditation. And that's where I would not be surprised if the jury came back with second degree. But I did think in closing arguments, I thought the state did a good job trying to talk about he was aware, he's Googling the lover's name, and he's researching divorce. So that night, did he decide to not have to get it? Because what if that night Anna was like, I want to take the kids back with me? Like, by no matter what happens at this time, I want to take the kids back with me or something. And so if I was on the jury, there are some things there, some circumstantial things, but there's still some things there where I could get to first degree. But for a unanimous decision, if I was the only one, if it was me and like one other person, like, no, I'm holding out for first degree, but everybody else was saying second degree, I might be like, okay, like just for a unanimous verdict, I don't know. Like I might go down to second degree. I think the emotion that Jem had during his testimony, so both before the jury, because they did a proffer outside of the presence of the jury, and then they had the jury there. His testimony was just so emotional, and you could just tell how much he loved her. And people keep talking about the yawn, but to me, it was just like he was opening. So when you open your mouth wide like that, it's to keep the tears from coming. And I'm an outpatient therapist in therapy, or even if I'm doing an initial intake for a psychological evaluation, if somebody has a bunch of emotions start to come up, sometimes they will kind of make their eyes really wide, and they'll take a deep breath, and they will try to hold back that emotion. I always let my clients know that it's a safe place, and I encourage them to show emotion if they need to. But that yawn that people talked about, I think that was him opening his mouth wide to just try to keep the emotions back, because I think he didn't want to come across too emotional, and then it looks like he's biased, or then the jury, he might come across less credible. To me, I thought both Jem's testimony, because because I think it was the defense that elicited the response, where the defense asked him about the text Brian sent him, or like when he was notified that Anna was missing on January 4th. And this might have been after the defense tried to allude to the fact that Jem might have had a different like in office relationship, which I wouldn't have cared about. Like, do you like, like live your life. But if I was on the jury, that wouldn't have made him look more or less credible to me. But after the defense did that, and they asked him some question, Jem is like, you're telling me, so I'm paraphrasing, you're telling me she's been missing since the first? You're just now reaching out to me on January 4th? What did y'all argue about? Like, that was his first thought, is that they argued, and that Brian tried to minimize it to be like, "Argue? You saw us that day. You know that we had, like, we had a great day." It brings me back to that Sarah Boone, like, we had a great day. It was a great day until somebody doesn't walk out, like, until somebody is no longer here. And so, yeah, Sarah mentioned that he closed his eyes a lot. He chose his words very carefully. I think he's just a very conscious person, and I think he wanted to be accurate. Yeah, a lot of deep breathing. So some people, they called it like a yawn, but it was just him. He was kind of doing like that with his mouth. Thank you for this. It's so exhausting to be so vulnerable. A fellow therapist. Aw, welcome, welcome. Somebody mentioned, so I thought Anna was falling out of love with him, and I thought the best friend's testimony brought in the fact that Brian would ask Anna, "Do you love me?" And, like, would, like, berate her about her love for him, but he didn't really talk about how much he loved her. And I don't know that he really loved I don't know, the kids thing, because the fact that he's out here trying to clean up the death of his wife and his son. So for the rest of his life, if his son ever finds out, like, just what because his son might remember, "Yeah, I used to run errands with dad sometimes. Yeah, I remember after mom went missing, we went to the store." And, like, so for him to include some of those things, to me, that is just horrific. Ugh. Like, to me, he cared about himself. He cared about I don't think he wanted to go to jail. I don't think he wanted to get caught. And, the defense in their closing tried to call him a loving husband and a loving father, but for me, that I also have the fact of, if his wife did die unexpectedly, he did not call 911. He did not request an autopsy. So we could, because maybe it's something genetic. Maybe we need to monitor the kids for blah blah blah. Like, the fact that, and the defense tried to say that he freaked out, like, because of his love for her, like, that was what caused him to not want to get caught. And I'm just, it doesn't, and the defense is trying. So please know, the defense is gonna do what like, they're gonna defend their client as best they can. But I wonder if the jury is going to remember, during opening, the defense had this whole story of what the defense said that they were going to be told throughout the process of this trial. Because after the state rested, the defense did not even call a medical expert to talk about sudden unexplained death syndrome or whatever, to even talk about sudden unexpected deaths. They did not have their own expert to talk about any of those things, because first of all, the state would probably cross-examine that person to be like, "Okay, well, what's the easiest way to figure out if that's what happened? You need the body. We don't have the body in this case." And so, um, I don't think he's gonna get a not guilty. I There is a chance that everyone on the jury, because there are 12 people that have to get to the premeditation part. And the judge in the jury instructions, it explained the state had to prove it. And so doesn't have to be motive. And I do think there was some motive here. I think there was financial motive. I think he didn't want to go to jail. And the jury can't consider his bad acts as like, "Oh, you're just a guilty person. You're just a person that would," so they can't consider those things. I think it is difficult to keep some of that out once people do remember that. Somebody mentioned the jury will be remembering that open. Yes. And the lack of anything. And I mentioned it in a YouTube short that the content creator in me was quite disappointed that Brian Walshe did not testify because I don't think it would have went well. I think it would have been a Nicholas Cassotis. I think if he had testified, all 12 jurors might have got to first degree because I don't know that he can tell the truth. I don't know that for sure. I'm saying that in general. I'm saying that in general, he does not seem to be a very truthful person, especially when he's trying to convince somebody of something. And so I don't know. And he'd have to answer for all the lies that he told during his police interviews and all the other information. He might be directly asked, "Were you aware of the affair?" Because the answer to that might be yes. Because I think the fact that his mother hired the private investigator, I don't think that ever came in. And a private investigator, because I don't think in DC, I don't think Anna might have been aware that somebody might have been like taking, I don't know. So there might have been some knowledge, but we don't know for sure. This is all Patrice speculation. Okay. We do not know this for sure. But there's a part of me that thinks he definitely knew, especially when he was freaking out. And that came out with the testimony of Anna's best friend, Alyssa, that I think it was Christmas Day. He couldn't reach her. And she had spent the night over at her lover's house. And he called the best friend so that the best friend initially wanted the best friend to go and check on her, but then Anna called the best friend to be like he's free, like, I'm fine. Like he just couldn't reach me for an hour. like it's not even that serious. But that's where I'm wondering if he realized that she might have moved on. And I don't know that his ego could handle her moving on with somebody that was better than him. Like, ugh. And I don't know anything about that other guy. I don't know anything about him, about her realtor friend. Um, it seemed like, but there seemed to be some personality difference. I do agree that there were some physical characteristics. Like I think Anna kind of had a type, and most people do. A lot of people have types of people that they're attracted to. I mean, with real money, because Brian, I think, put on this air that he had money, but he wasn't even paying for their rental. His mama was paying for the rental, and he's bringing up money when it doesn't have to be brought up. Because what's the point in bringing up that he made 50,000 this past year? And Anna made over 300,000. And it's not, but like, it's not a tit for tat thing, but like, it's New Year's Eve. Like, let's just talk. Let's have fun. I've never brought up how much I've made at a New Year's Eve celebration with friends. Like, that just seems odd. And he is one of the most, like, I've never seen a criminal spend more money after. An alleged criminal. Well, he's already pled guilty to the lying to officers and what he did to the body. And so like he spent a lot of money. I didn't even know that you could get baking powder. Baking soda. Yeah, baking soda in I think it's baking soda. Whichever one that you use to clean up stuff. I think I just bought some baking soda today for the refrigerator. I bought a small box from Lidl. For Lidl. I bought a small box. I think I bought 2 small boxes. One to replace the one in the fridge and one to go under the sink. Was that the legit paintings or was that not the legit paintings? Because he seemed to have like a kind of a con thing. Yeah, baking soda, 25-pound bag of baking soda. And the defense is over here talking about the cleanup job that this man did, but that he didn't get it out of, like, there was one area that did test positive for blood. And that's where we're all thinking, is that where he use the bags and everything else? Like, is that where things happened? Like that would be my thought. Or because a lot there we've kind of tried to speculate where things might have went down. And I love that the state pointed out in closing, notice that he did not search for unexpected loss. Ooh, the state also put a little snark in of like, he also didn't search how to help children cope with an unexpected death. Like, he didn't search any of those things. Super duper sad. We also heard that the children will be providing victim impact statements, and I am glad those statements are going to be sealed. Sometimes we've heard impact statements from older children. So children that were 16 years old or 17 years old, or maybe adult children of like if it was a parent that did a crime. Um, so sometimes we have heard those impact statements. The children's impact statements are going to be sealed, and I'm glad that they fought for that to happen. We do not need to see that. That does not need to be on the internet for the world to see. I'm glad that that will just be between the judge, Brian, and the state. Those will be the people that will see those. Oy. And so I think Emily D. Baker was the one that, like, if he had searched Corey Richin's book, might have come up. Oy. Oy. All right. Let me know if y'all have any general questions. Correct, he did not search CPR or like, but he did search, can you be convicted of murder with no body? He did search that. He did go to redrum.com. I wouldn't recommend going to that site. I'm pretty sure the FBI tracks you if you go. I don't know that for sure, but I think if people do go to that site, you should probably be tracked. I don't know. Right. Yes. And the burden is on the state. And the defense did not have to put on anything, and they chose not to. And that may have been a smart thing for him. I do think if he had got on the stand, I personally feel he would have made he would have made the case worse, because then the state can ask all of those questions. And I don't think he would have done well on cross-examination. I also don't think he could muster the emotion to care. Like, he didn't, like, I think he cares about himself. I think he doesn't want to go to jail. He hasn't seemed to be grieving the fact that Anna died. Like, he doesn't, because the state did mention, while he's out shopping and he's doing all those things, he looks jovial. Like, he's checking his hair. He doesn't seem sad. He doesn't seem like he's in any distress. He doesn't seem upset. So, and so I do believe the jury is going to take their time. I think it could possibly be into Tuesday. Okay. So the defense asked the jurors to look through the messages between, and I don't know that the jury will, but the defense wanted the jury to look at the messages between Anna and her lover. But I don't know if that was to present a negative light on Anna. And so I don't know that the jury will need to look at any of that, because if nothing else, that would maybe show why, if for some reason he had seen one of those messages, why that might have upset him. And then the whole iMessage versus like the whole messenger thing came up. Because if iCloud accounts are attached, and that's where the jury might go back to look to see, are the messages all on Facebook Messenger? I don't know that they will know if the iPad is connected to Facebook, because if the iPad was connected to a Facebook and somebody could just click on it and open the Facebook page, they would be able to see them there. It probably wasn't, but it was a lot. The whole blaming the children on why the phone unlocked, and his phone had a very specific code, and, I just thought the state did a really good job summarizing everything and telling a good story, because I was having trouble tracking it as they were presenting the evidence. Because to me, everything wasn't being presented in, like, a sequential way. They were saying the times for everything, and I was hearing it, but I wasn't taking notes, so I wasn't tracking everything. Um, so I think some of the text, I think they're probably race I don't know that we needed all of that. Um Now, if we knew for sure that Brian had read this message, then yes. If he had talked about a specific message, but I'm kind of glad that a lot of that did not come in. Just my own personal thoughts. Why do you think he made such a last minute decision not to testify? Could it be the friend's testimony? Possibly. Because he seemed to be presenting that there was no evidence of any marital problems. And I believe through the friend's testimony, it got in that Anna had talked with him about delaying, about like taking responsibility and not delaying his federal trial. And that there had been discussions around, so I think there was a lot that came in about things that Anna had supposedly told the friend that the state would have been able to ask him about. And it might have been the strategy the entire time that he was never going to testify. It could have been. Once again, I don't think or that he would testify if he could say that he already pled guilty to those two charges. So if he got on the stand, he was going to be able to say what he did, but he wasn't gonna be able to say that he had already pled guilty to those 2 charges, to the charges of lying to the police. Now, he might have tried to just say it. Sometimes defendants know they're not supposed to say something, and sometimes they do say something, and it's up to the state to determine, like, is this big enough to do we just let this go? Because once a jury hears something, they can't unhear it, but I do think, the fact that he wasn't going to be able to say that he pled guilty, because I think he wanted to say that he took accountability for what he did, that but I didn't do that. Like, I think he wanted to be able to say something like that, and he wasn't going to be able to say that, and he was going to have to talk about, like, because we have no idea what was in the bags. We do not know, because Anna's body was never recovered. And so he was going to have to give some details, things that we do not know at this point. And so I think just from a neutral perspective, if I just take a step back, or if I'm looking at it from the defense's side, I do think it was a smart decision to keep him off of the stand. Because in watching the case, I thought there was potential for doubt. So maybe the defense strategy was, okay, let the state present their whole case. If we feel there are holes, because it's on the state to prove first degree, to prove that, you know, to prove capital M. It really is on the state. And I thought the medical examiner admitting that, yes, these are different types of sudden deaths. Yes, sudden deaths can happen. I thought the state bringing in the fact that I think Brian had referred to Anna as like sturdy. Was sturdy the word? Chat, let me know. If you watch with Emily D. Baker, she harped on this word too. She might have rewinded it. She might have rewound that part, but like, he was talking about how healthy she was and everything. And so control and jealousy, and the state did not mention those words. So to me, the state presented a very factual case and didn't try to sensationalize anything, or they didn't, like, call him a narcissist, or like the state just stuck to the facts. They stuck to what happened. Yeah, he called her sturdy. I thought it was sturdy. Sturdy Serbian woman. Like, that's just, ugh. I don't know. Sturdy. I don't know how I'd feel about being as sturdy. Now I am. Like, I'm not flimsy, but and when I looked at her, I didn't look at her and think sturdy. I don't know. So I have like a muscular build. I don't but sturdy. That's some kind of word. And maybe that was just Brian trying to be poetic and like, eloquent with his words. I don't know. Sturdy is a weird way to describe somebody. Oh, okay. It's a stereotype. Wow, it's a stereotype of Slavic women. Huh? Because she seemed petite. Like she didn't I wouldn't have thought. When I think sturdy, I think of from Encanto, Luisa. The like so I think of I wouldn't call her sturdy. Those are just my own personal things. Wow. And she could do bar. So I don't know that I have the strength to do a bar class. I tried to do, I think it was beginner's level Pilates or maybe like an intermediate. So I have muscles, but they're for show. These muscles, they don't like they lift Amazon packages. Like these muscles carry like 5 to 6 grocery bags. Like I'm not out here trying to hold up my own body weight or anything like that. Like, Pilates, I think I either had to leave the class early or if I made it through, there was a lot of modifications. There were a ton. And I was in decent shape. Like I was going to yoga, I was going to Zumba, like I was doing all those things. I was in much better shape than I am today. And I barely made it through a Pilates class. No lie. Yeah, I would use the word petite. Like she looked petite to me, but oh well. Um and I like how the state, even though he didn't testify, the state was able to use some of his words. The state played clips of some of his interviews during their closing, which of course they would. Of course. Um, and the state didn't object when the defense tried to just make it sound like this was this loving couple with no issues and this was out of nowhere. Brian had no reason to want any of this, and poor Brian. To me, let me know in the chat if you agree. To me, I thought the defense was trying to turn Brian into the victim. This poor widower that now is a single father and like poor Brian. Like almost like you never know what a person will do if they're faced with their most difficult day. Don't dismember a body and like discard it and like the mother of your children. Like don't do that. That should be pretty clear. He was a very bad liar. I don't disagree. He never grew up and she was holding down all the things. And in my small opinion. Ooh, I thought it was interesting. The testimony, was it the friend or was it no, or I think it was Jem that talked about Brian's mom getting mad that Jem and Anna were holding hands. Like sometimes at a trial, if strangers are sitting beside one of the victims, sometimes a stranger might kind of grab, but like if you know the person, to me, like holding hands is not it's not like a sexual act. I don't and maybe I don't know where and according to Kathy, so on Gossip Rumor and Innuendo, Kathy has talked about some of Brian's mom's own stuff and that to me she had that like Donna Adelson where she kind of I don't think she liked Anna, but it was almost like she might have felt like she was being replaced. And that's where parents have to be careful that they don't put their child on some pedestal where their child becomes like a platonic lover almost, like where the child is meeting all of their emotional needs and the child is like fulfilling everything for them, hopefully it's platonic, but um because then the parent can get jealous when their adult child has a healthy relationship. Like, and so people just have to be careful with that. Um, it was weird. It was weird. Their relationship was very weird. Brian Walshe was just like other parasitic husbands who realize they're losing their host. Yeah, they can't have that. Yep. I think he was about to lose. So I think Anna would have co-parented with him, but I think she would have wanted to like not. She might have looked at divorcing him at some point. Because I think it came to a point where she was no longer getting anything out of this marriage. Anything. And she was losing everything. And one of the most dangerous times in any relationship is when somebody decides to leave. And parentification can sometimes take different folds, because sometimes when we talk about parentification, we talk about, the child being expected to take care of the parents' emotions, or sometimes we talk about that in different ways. Because by Brian not growing up, he remained dependent on his mother. Like, he needed her to pay that 4,000 however much dollar rent and all those things. I think somebody mentioned that they had a mother-in-law that was kind of like that. Hopefully the spouse is able to help set boundaries. Hopefully, not always, but that's always kind of my goal and wish. Um, in my family, I don't let anybody else talk negatively about my husband. And if my husband heard somebody in his family talking bad about me, he would definitely speak up about it. All right. And if she died of natural causes, the easiest way to prove that is having the body. And I love that the state mentioned that her necklace broke and that they haven't um, located all of the necklace. And did that happen during a struggle? Like, they kind of hypothesized that. The whole knife thing is weird. Like, and so it's just a very, very difficult case. Very difficult case. I think the state put on, as I would have appreciated more organization with how information was presented, but that's because I was spoiled with the Adelson trial with like PowerPoints, and I don't know that they do that in that court, or some type of demonstrative. Like, I wanted to see the timelines and everything, and it's okay that I didn't get to see it. It's okay. It seems that the defense strategy was for him to testify. It started out that way. Do you think Brian is the type that thinks he can explain everything away? Yes. But then I think some things came out that was going to be difficult for him to possibly attempt to explain away. And at some point, the defendant can make the case worse. So there have been some cases. Oh, because I really wanted Donna Adelson to testify, and she chose not to, because Charlie did, and Charlie made it worse. So to me, Charlie Adelson on the stand, it was like guilty. Sarah Boone on the stand, guilty. Who else took the stand? Ali Abulaban on the stand, guilty. He got, you saw the rage that came out from Ali Abulaban. If you haven't followed that case, it's a very triggering case. Similar situation, where a father, but it was like drug filled. His case was very sad, and he used to have a TikTok following. That adds that piece, but that whole thing. Casodis on the stand, worse. Just made it worse. Daryl Brooks, worse. We are live. Hey, Kathy. And so if y'all love, we're trying to help Kathy get to 30,000. And so if you're not subscribed, Kathy does great updates. And she did a phenomenal video with Josh Ritter. So Josh Ritter is an attorney, and he went on and they had a great conversation talking about this case and Brian's decision not to testify, which I still think, once again, not the content creator, because the content creator in me was like, ooh, like I would have went live so fast, like y'all, the way I wanted to react to his testimony, because he was gonna lie, and I was gonna be able to say, "Lying liar that just lies." Like I was gonna be able to say one of my favorite lines. Alec Murdaugh made it worse. So the fact that he chose not to, because the jury has some holes, and him getting on the stand might have helped fill in some holes for them. And I think it would have made things worse. Now, he would have tried to say, because all defendants do this. Alec Murdaugh did this, Nicholas Cassotis did this, because their attorney preps them and they say, "Did you kill your wife?" And they all say, "No, absolutely not." I like they say it with a straight face. They all get up there and they say it, and they get convicted because of all the other testimony and all the other lies and the fact that they're just not credible. That totally happens. And so, once again, not surprised that he decided not to. Yes, you subscribed when Josh was on there. Yes. And if you're here from Courtroom Confidential, y'all are some of the like when Josh tells y'all to come and support a channel, because I can tell, because my video views will stay the same, but my subscribers will jump by between 500 and 1,000 anytime Josh mentions my channel, because I did share on the community tab. I called in. I recorded a video that Josh shared, talking about, because like with cases like this, people asked about HIPAA, that normally patient privacy is protected, and how is HIPAA applied to courtrooms. And within the court setting, there can be subpoenas for medical records, for mental health records. And if the provider thinks, because the provider can fight a subpoena, if they think they need to, um, and because if a provider in inappropriately discloses records, that can become a board complaint. And so, yes, please hit that like button. It just helps. Yes, I did the phone a friend over on Courtroom Confidential. If you watch the video, it's super shaky because Tiffany Ritter, she emailed me and was like, "Hey, can you do this tonight?" So I ran up here. So I could turn on my light, and I recorded the video, and uh and so I love it. I love Grizzly True Crime. She does a phenomenal job covering cases too. Woo, you're here. And so the Grizzlies are also very, very supportive in the chat. Law Nerds from Emily D. Baker. Everybody is super duper supportive. And I support other channels. So if you are watching, I don't know. So Colby Ryan, I'm not going to talk about it. Colby Ryan did a video today addressing his perspective of any back and forth, and just things that had been mentioned about him. And so if you want to catch up on any of that, you can catch that on Colby's channel. Colby also clarified on his channel that I guess that somebody had said that Tylee Ryan was at his wedding. And so it's like, she wasn't at my wedding. Cause I think I had heard that somewhere. And so that's where I always try. So anytime I get facts wrong, I try to correct it because sometimes I remembered something wrong. I wrote it down. I don't know. Sometimes or the way it's reported might not be how it happened. And so, yeah, that's what he posted. He didn't go into a lot of, but he talked about it from his perspective. And so I did watch that right before here. All right. Okay. And so a lot of people are, yeah, so I don't know. So and that's where I'm just a person, psychologist on the internet that likes talking about these things. And so let me know if y'all have any general questions. Any general questions? Yeah, curiously, for me, I I appreciate the way that, because there were a few channels that I watched, and then so I just try to be careful, and then no channel is perfect. No channel is 100% perfect, and so you find your community where it makes the most sense. All of these communities are better than the law and crime chat for me personally. The law and crime chat can get like, ugh, like it's court TV requires you to be a member to chat. And so their chat, but sometimes their chat can get a little off too. And so, yeah. Yep, yep, yep. Yeah. And so Oregon asked for a video on how people that were supporting and that fallout. And so I want to see what happens as things kind of move forward, and maybe like once the case comes to a close. So once things come to a close, I may talk about it because I'm very careful. I don't want to do a like a thumbnail that is clickbait or that is bringing in certain hate or anything like that. And so, Dr. Barry, in your opinion, what psych disorder or personality fits a person who thinks they can explain everything away? Um, and then sometimes people just lie. So it's not a disorder to just lie. So somebody that's a compulsive liar, they might have ADHD, they might have anxiety, they might have, because different people lie for different reasons, or somebody thinking they can get away with a crime. I think it's I think people don't always take responsibility for what happened, or um I think our human nature. So a great example is if I'm driving and I'm pulled over by the police officer and he asks me, "How fast were you going?" I I am not gonna say how fast I was going because I need to know what he clocked me at, because that's what matters. How? Because if I say I was going 70, and let's say he clocked me at 69, he has to go with 69. Do you know? And so, I don't know. So that's where I try to not pathologize everything. And then narcissism, all personality is on a bit of a spectrum, and there can be pro-social. Normal, anytime we're talking about a disorder, because there are personality characteristics and then there are disorders. And narcissism is always going to come with this um puffed up ego that is actually there's actually insecurity. So individuals who may meet criteria for narcissistic personality disorder or might be somewhere on that narcissism spectrum, they might portray themselves as being very confident as, but their ego is so weak that any minor inconvenience completely deflates that ego. They go into defense mode and they might start to attack people. So that can be, and then also everything isn't narcissism. Everything isn't this or that. And so yes, yes, yes. All right. Um Amanda, I'm glad that you've stayed out of that side of the algorithm. I definitely got nosy and ended up on an interesting side, and I'm back over here now. Um I've seen people put in the comments that he may have been diagnosed, but the thing people say he was diagnosed with isn't an actual diagnosis. So I've seen in the chat people say that Brian Walshe was diagnosed as a psychopath, but like that's not a diagnosis that now, in a psychological, they might say a person might have some psychopathic traits. Like they might say something like that, but normally antisocial personality disorder. The only thing I'm aware that Brian Walsh has been diagnosed with based on his self-report is depression. That's the only thing that I'm aware of. All right. Let's see, let's see. So I regularly go 5 over. So, oh, and my little person. So, but I don't, because in Virginia, reckless driving is going over 80 or over is reckless. Because there's some places where it's legal to drive 70. So if it's legal to drive 70, I'm probably going between 75 and like 78. I also have State Farm. So State Farm tracks how fast I go. And they are notified if I drive over 80. Okay. Like they track. Like I get a discount if I drive well. But when before I put the tracker in my car, I specifically asked them, so what's y'all's idea of speeding? Because I know. In a 35, I'm probably going 40. Unless it's a school zone. School zone 35 is 35. But like I work off of Route 1 where the speed limit is 35. I'm probably going 40. Maybe 45. Shh. And so, all right. But and also in Virginia, 15 over is reckless, and I stay away from reckless. I've only had to pay for 2 speeding tickets. I talked myself out of one of them. I don't know if I've told this story before. There was one officer, I've probably told it before. There was this very sweet police officer. I'm pretty sure he must have had a daughter because I think I was driving from, because I was going to my dad's house in North Carolina. And I think I was coming from my friend's house. And when I was driving, my car would shake if I didn't drive over 80. It would shake if I didn't go over 80. So I was on the interstate. And so I would, and this was before Waze app. So I was using MapQuest directions. This is how long ago this was. Okay. Printed out MapQuest directions. Or I had a Garmin. Like that was like the old school GPS. I had a Garmin, a GPS. I called her Gina, and I wouldn't listen to her sometimes, and she would recalculate. She got real fussy about the whole recalculating thing. This is very much a squirrel moment, but we're going here. And so then I see one cop, and I slowed down for him. But after I passed him, I sped back up, and there was a second cop. He got me, and I pulled over, and he's like, "Ma'am, why are you going so fast?" I was like, I'm on my way to my dad's house. I pulled out, I had tried to get my car fixed. Like I had got my car had just been seen by a mechanic, and I was driving to my dad's house, and my dad already had an appointment with me to help me get my car fixed. And this poor officer looked at me and he was like, "Ma'am, there's something wrong with your car. Do you think you should drive faster?" I don't know. I was probably like 22. I don't know. I was in my early 20s. He was just, it was so great. But he was just like, "Ma'am, slow down." I don't think I got a warning. He didn't write anything down at all. He could have given me a real ticket. I had earned a real ticket that day, possibly with a court appearance. But he was like, just because he was probably going to get somebody else, like, because they had the perfect speed trap set up because there was like a mountain. You really couldn't see. Like by the time you saw the second officer, it was too late. The first officer was clear. Like you could see the first one, but that second one, and so, did y'all see in Florida that plane that landed on a car? The trauma. So I think she was in her like 50s or 60s. This woman is just driving on I-95, and a small aircraft lands on her car. Everybody survived. It was 2 student pilots, I think. They did an emergency landing on the highway, but they landed on her car. And I'm just like, it seemed like like one of those mayhem commercials or something, but I don't know if that's covered. Like an airplane landed on her car, totaling it. And so super duper scary. Super duper scary. Hey, buddy. I can show you the video. That's very rare. That normally does not happen. Okay. Okay. That normally does not happen. My son heard that report from the other room. Call your insurance. The insurance is, but the good thing, there was a car driving behind her that had dash cam video, because who's going to believe her that like a car, there was a car behind her with dash cam. That's how we have the video. So we actually have the video of the car landing on it. Go check it out if you need to. My kiddo is absolutely adorable. He's super excited. With the holiday weekend, so I will be going live on Tuesday, and then I think we have visitors. So I don't know if I'm going to go live on. So Tuesday might be one of my last ones. We are trying to plan a group live with like some of your favorites. And so stay tuned to the channel that we may be having a special holiday live with some of your favorite creators to talk about some upcoming cases. If I do get a request to collaborate with Courtroom Confidential or with Paul or Kathy or anybody else, I always share those with you all. But right now, my plan is to go live on Tuesday. I do think we'll have a verdict in the Brian Walshe case by Tuesday, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. She is going to win the never have I ever or like the two truths and a lie for the rest of her life. She is going to win that game. Yes. Look at Law Nerd Laughapalooza. Yes, yes, yes. All right. So I appreciate you all. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day. I need to get caught up on some paperwork. I am behind on my notes. So I will see y'all next time. Have a good one. Bye.